So what I'm going to ask now, this is a tricky question that I've been thinking even since last night, and now I'm looking at we have a situation where there are suspicions or rumors that we most likely to have a king in the name of Mnangagwa. I'm not going to declare a king. We most people are mad about it, and we don't want to hear all that, and which is correct. I mean, it's a position that everyone that does not subscribe to. Now, my question was, because in terms of government, poor leadership, and all that, there is a contradiction that I see, and I'm sure now I'm convinced it part of my problems here. Let me ask a blunt question right away to say, we do not want to be led by a king, right? To know that a democratic elected a leader, a president. That's the first thing. But where we are coming from, everyone, ane village yake. Leadership is traditional chiefs. But then if we have traditional chiefs and we have a democratically elected president, but these chiefs, they do not have kings, or they do not have a king that they answer to. But the very same chiefs that lead us in our communities in terms of land, traditional, dealing with all other issues to do with Zinoitikama village. We agree with that. We agree with that. But when we now go to national, we say we don't want to hear anything to do with the traditional leadership. We want a European influence, democratic process. That's what we want. But we do not want, but where we are coming from as villagers, that traditional leadership is correct. So now, my worry also is on the issue that now when you look at it, these very same chiefs that who are leading us in our villages, they answer to the president, who is elected democratically. And then now I start to wonder, is there not a contradiction there? Because if we agree on the leadership in our villages traditionally, but we do not agree on the leadership nationally, but the very same leader who is leading the nation, the chiefs answer to him. So what are we dealing with here? Because if, say, for example, we have a chief, a king, probably, or maybe say a paramount chief or a king from a Tebeleland and king from a Shonaland, because obviously for tribal reasons, argument. Then we say, okay, at least the same system that is leading us, that is leading us from villages where we come from, is the same system that is leading us nationally. Or should we abandon the traditional leadership in our villages and do the same thing that we say, oh, chief now, we have chiefs, and the chief now every 5 years, Tosarudza chief we do. At Chaitis, just this is a family, dynasty. We don't do that. Because we know nationally we have a president, Anosarudza, Nevano. Saka. That I kept on thinking, and I could not find answers, and one of my contradictions in terms of dealing with leadership issues, and why are the leaders that we subscribe to, that we follow, that we answer to in our villages, go to the same leader that we disagree, that we do not agree with, that he wants to be a king, but at the same time we have leaders that are supposed to have a king. in our villages. So this really kept ringing in my mind, and I thought I should bring it since in terms of poor leadership. Contradiction. I hope I did not, since the chimbotanga space and but I thought let me just bring thank you so much, Scotty. I mean, I question I can probably come back and answer, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, my brother. Yeah, we are listening, obviously. Yeah. Anyone want to come in? Just jump in, guys. Tepo is here. You can moderate the space. The topic is.
How are you, Scotty?
Hi, Tepo. How are you?
I'm fine. I have the energy as a young person.
That's
Yeah,
good.
that's good.
That's good.
Thank you for convening the space. I'm being addicted to this platform. I sleep thinking about the space. I wake up thinking about the space, especially when I'm free. No,
Yeah, this place
good
is
morning.
for let's hold government accountable. These leaders are not jailed. I understand. If we don't speak
Oh,
out,
that's very
if
true.
we
That's
don't
very
hold them
true.
accountable, then we are doomed. So they need to
Yeah,
know what we are complaining each and every day.
yes, yes. There are
Give them
issues that they need
feedback,
to focus.
criticize them so that they can improve. So yeah,
Indeed.
the struggle continue. Yeah, over to you.
All right, so good morning, Penelope, Lisa, Dobbs, Kitty Travel, Charumbira, Tabiwa, and the rest of the listeners. So I don't know whether you had already chosen a lineup.
No, there was no lineup. People were jumping in. Yeah. So
Oh, this
anytime
is
if
jumping.
someone submit, if
So
they want to say
did,
something, they just jump.
did you address them and tell them that there will now be a new setup or new way of doing things in the house to try and strengthen what we call robust engagement? So I was just thinking to say, let's say Dobbs is giving a submission, Dobbs is the first to give a submission, then maybe 3 or 4 people may be allowed to be it make counter argument or probe Dobbs further. When Dobbs is done, we move to the next person, but we want to strengthen cross engagement, so to say. I wonder if there's anything like that. Yeah, so I think that's how we'll be doing things going forward. I'm sure you saw the open letter by Scotty. So I will not change what we were already doing unless I realize we are no longer giving each other time. Then maybe you may be restricted to a lineup. But for now, it's free Mandela. Thank you. Whoever wants to speak may speak.
Narumbira, what you were saying. Thank you, Tsepo. How are you? Jarumbira, what you were saying, Kuti, in the rural areas, in I come from, Ndirimwana wa machief. And kuma chief, baba wangu and his first elder brother, ndivo vanga vakapiwa chinzvimbo changa chiri chief after their father. And then the elder brother got on. When the elder brother died, akuye next brother, kunoenda futi next first child that person. So there's always that one privileged human being that they will call because you were born as the first son that will get that chinjimbo. So in my thinking, it could be also kuti Munangagwa is also looking at his children and thinking, okay, how do I choose kuti which one is can take after me to look after the family? maybe he's got a soft spot for the younger ones, or but there's the elder brother that he thinks the elder son that he thinks he might do well. This is now a dynasty, a family dynasty that they want. But chief kumusha, first son comes after. Kana first son akafa asina mwana, that's when they go to the next son, wana baba, kana kuti the father. You understand? Kana mwana achiri mudiki, vanombosarudza umwe munhu from the other brothers. Kana kuti the other elder brother anozotonga. Like muno muEngland, kana baba vari kutonga ava vakafa, anti elder son inouyapo. But kana elder son yavo ikasaita, kuri kuti awana ma-complications and is no more. Vanoenda, while his kids are still young, vanokwanisa kuenda kuna young brother uya akaenda kuAmerica. So that's how it works. You can only become a leader kana pakaita the other person akaita ma-complications kana kuti akazviramba completely totally kuti inini I don't want to be part of this. So the Mnangagwa is now on the other side. If Mnangagwa introduces the Munomotapa thing, it means kuti the whole of Zimbabwe tinenge tisachavote, because ivo vanenge vakushiti tisitine right yekutonga. Kana Mnangagwa akafa, anenge akunzi mwana wake ndiye achaita next. Saka this Munomotapa thing is completely a nuisance in Zimbabwe. As much as there's a contradiction, it was an eye-opener after you spoke, kuti kumamisha. That's what's happening. And that's what's happening. It's there. Machifu ndo anotoka.
Ngoma mvura ndozorasika zvinhu zvanaida kukorektai.
Alright, taurako.
Mnangagwa cannot be a chief or a king because he is not a king. You can't impose yourself to become a king. You are then an oppressor, because you can't then just impose yourself to be Munomotapa, because Munomotapa descendants are still there. One of them is still a Chief Mwirinyi, the one who is noisy, is a lawyer and so forth. Is one who belongs to that dynasty and Munomotapa. So Mnangagwa and Munomotapa is not Shumba Mrambo, it's Moyo Gono. So that is where people get sort of just accepting something. The Zimbabweans have that tendency of just accepting something and the fear to point it out and act upon it, to say, no, he cannot be a king because he is not a king. We don't have any doubt with Zwide Khumalo to say he's a king, because we know he's a descendant of a king. That one, we cannot touch him. We give him like that, because that is what he is. It's only that our constitution doesn't realize the king. But then for Mnangagwa to impose himself to us and say that I'm now a king, and then give that title Munomotapa again, and who will be the most, and we accept it, then it means that will be the most educated, stupid fools in the world if we accept that.
Dobbs, we have been accepting a lot of things so far as Zimbabweans. And because he's seeing kuti these people vanovhuma, inini chakampondirwadza ndechekuti akatomboita video achiadresa people kuVictoria Falls achivati isusu takariga my elections.
Yeah, Penelope and Jobs Inzwai, maybe Dr. Batsirani Panapa. Let's put Mnangagwa and his politics and his ambitions aside. Let's put this name aside so that we get to the bottom of the question I've asked, so we can deal with it.
So
where we are coming from, traditional chiefs who are leading us.
ndanda kutoda kuti answer.
Inzwai. Let's put that Mnangagwa issue or dynasty ambitions issue aside. I'm talking about the leadership. Because the topic is poor leadership. The leadership that we have, where we're coming from, is traditional. But then nationally, we do not subscribe to that. Now the question is, why do we then allow our chiefs, where we are coming from, to answer to someone who is not leading the nation according to the traditional ways of leadership or style of leadership? Because the very same leaders in the village, they answer to that elected leader who is leading the nation. So don't pane contradiction delay to understand what is it that we should point out. Could apondopane fall. That is why we have poor leadership. Let's not discuss my ambitions, my aspirations or suspicions or rumors. Because that's what he wants to do. Let's deal with the leadership issue, the poor leadership. Because we subscribe to the traditional, in the villages. But when it comes to national, we don't. But the very leader who we don't, these leaders answer to him. That's what I wanted to do. Let's discuss that. Not Mnangagwa. Let's put Mnangagwa aside.
Yeah, you are putting your request a bit more long. If you put it a bit more longer, people do not understand it. But the issue of traditional leaders, they are only supposed to do with the traditional issues as they are. But the government, some of the traditional issues, they can then be overridden by the national legislation. A good example where that issue has been overridden by the national legislation is the issue of paying avenging spirit with a virgin. Kuti ngozi inoripwa nemhandara isingazivi murume. That issue have been overridden to say even if a spirit comes and demand a wife, it's no longer allowed. You can't then accept that. It's only by way of money or domesticated animals, and it moves like that. I'm not saying that those traditional courts, they have lots of flaws, because like if they ask somebody to pay, to say you have done something wrong for the let's say for the region or for the chieftains, they then ask you to pay the chief. That is where I have complained to say it's wrong. Why should we pay the chief if we have done something wrong for the chieftains? Why can't the chief have that treasure where money goes, and that money goes back to the community? Because it now seems as if somebody, if he becomes a chief today, we have seen it happening in Gokwe, where a young man becomes a chief, and so suddenly, before they can even receive the pay, because for somebody to become a chief who is recognized by the government, the president then must have signed for you to become a chief, but you can still become an acting chief. So those ones who are acting, you'd find out to say some of them have become so rich so fast because they are just getting resources from the people. And I think those resources should be going to the chieftains. To say, you'd find out to say at a court one day sitting, maybe the chief get 4 cows, because he find the 4 people 4 cows, to say, you beat somebody and he bleeded, I need a cow. You committed adultery, pay the husband of the wife 3 cows and me 1 cow. You worked on a skate day. Warimane chisi. Pay me 2 cows. Pay the Mondoros 1 cow and me a cow. So who is that Mondoro who is going to get a cow? That is where I have a lot of questions. I have asked the questions. And the biggest problem with the Zimbabweans, ask something, you get attacked and you want to ask again. To say, who is that Mondoro who is going to get another car? Isn't it the people? Something which represents the people. So that cow, I'm saying, no, let it go to the place for the people so that the people can benefit. Because it is going like that. And at times they just send people to collect the tax, unknown, unauthorized tax, to say go and the chiefs needed $5 from every homestead they are collecting, and within a day the young man is already driving and is spending far away with the woman. So it's an area where we have to provide those checks and balance and control it where necessary. Because the majority of the chiefs who are in Zimbabwe, they are not chiefs. Really, I need to be honest. There's somebody who have just used the political muscle or connections to then become chiefs. If they are very few. And some are coming from that family which are supposed to become the chiefs, but they are not the anointed ones to become the chiefs. Those ones who are affiliated to ZANU-PF are becoming chiefs. Those ones who are not, they are being thrown away. Same as headmates, they are being thrown away to say, just, you can't be. And they can just remove you like that. So it is that system which is happening to say, no, every system is breeding a poor leadership, because the only way you can lead the society, as long as you can salute and butling Mnangagwa, you then become that leader. That is the problem we are having, to say everybody is now a bootlicker. And once you bootlick, that is the problem we have. So maybe that is the reason why people are now running to Harare and the Bulawayo, because those areas, there are the few areas which are not controlled by the chiefs. So people can easily run away to those areas and hide there. Because now even in the resettlement area, they are now under chiefs. The areas where the chiefs are struggling to penetrate are those farming area with title deeds. They are struggling to penetrate there to have their influence. But in terms of population, there are very few people who live there at the moment compared to at independence. At independence, the farms were employing a large chunk of people. Now they are not employing a large chunk of people. The farms have become very slow, very small. In most cases, it's only families live there, and there are very few people who work there in those farms. So it has become sort of like that. And some of those people who work there, they work as partners. They have a issue of partnership, where if you want to grow tobacco, you find somebody who can do that tobacco. You tell him to say, I will give you like 100 a month, but after harvest, after I've sold my tobacco, I will get certain percentage, like even 15%. And some people are agreeing to that. And that is the only way they are sustaining themselves. So it's very difficult. Back to you. I hope you have understood, Charumbi.
Yeah, and this is wrong, but you dealt with so many issues there. But all what I was trying to understand on the issue of accepting the leadership as the people within, from our villages. We accept the traditional leadership, and we have not even seen anyone from their village or protesting against the chief. Mama Manigama ita point out Inzwai huripo noitika. No, let me finish. Mamshimbotaura kuti musataurisa. Imimi nemunhu unotaura kwakariba. Saka anyway, ndiri kuti inini aimbovepo here. Because my worry is, kana tina ma traditional chiefs atino believer in it, we don't press or we don't protest. We seem to be happy in the leadership yavo, even though some are not happy. But apana discourse in huripo. Why is it that the very same leaders, then we expect them to answer to the leader that would have elected nationally? So, in other words, kana pasina king, asitina chief asina king. Why is it that we don't have a king? Akainda kopi chi chakaitika, because there's something that is missing there that I want to try and deal with, because we are running away from the fact that we understand that we respect our traditional leadership, where we're coming from. But when it comes to national, there's something that is missing that we are not even, trying to, to deal with. And why is it that we don't have that? We seem to be having an issue when it comes to leadership. That's why it's toxic, is this, is that. We are not getting anywhere. So nobody centered on. So what chief and my girlfriends, it's another issue. It's another issue. Let's deal with what we accept and what we do not accept. But what then question is, what we accept nationally, we do not accept it when it comes to a traditional, where we're coming from, my village. No chat no behaviors in my individuals. That's another issue. Thank you.
No, don't wait our 2 minutes yet. How many people have protested against your brother, Charumbira? Then, or against your chieftains? And even the boundary at times have to be changed because people are protesting. So people do protest against the chief. It's only that the only problem you wanted to address. If we wanted to address it on the top, is the mistake we've made our president, executive president, and we don't want to correct that. We wanted to correct on the bottom, on the chiefs. We have that fear factor which we just run around, and this is the way of running it around. To say we are not pinpointing to say our president mustn't have the executive powers. But we wanted to.
Now we are talking.
Yes, we wanted them. We wanted to attack the chiefs and go it upwards. Let's pinpoint like what we always do. Some of us do to say no, we can't have an executive president. And it has been years since 1987. We were protesting against it to say no, we can't have an executive president because we did not understand it. But somebody who was doing socialism consciousness taught us one day to say this is in terms of socialism consciousness. We were against it, but some people were buying it. The one who bought into it a lot was that Munyarazi. You know that Munyarazi, the lecturer at UZ, a professor, is now a professor, but during that time he was a student. And the divine at the times, that divine Mafa, at the times he bought into it to say, yeah, I'm going for socialism. We were not against. We were against the pro-capitalist, but we were against the issue of having executive president. Because when Mugabe was prime minister, he was having less power, and then you understand then by the unity accord to say, people are being played here. Somebody is getting more powerful, and not answerable to anybody. Mugabe used to go to parliament to answer and he was getting crushed by him. Like Sidney Malunga, Russell Zaraebani, and others. They were giving me a tough time. But when you have that executive president, you now have the protection, you can't ask about him, and so forth. And up to now, we don't want to address that. We are now going to the chief to try to crush the chief. So let me give it to Andrew. I said 2 minutes, I'm now going off.